Have you heard about Chinese chicken soup for wellness? If you haven't, I'm going to show you a twist on a great recipe to make chicken broth instead of soup to help strengthen your immune system as the fall season approaches and we're getting ready for winter. Hi, I'm Kim from Best Acupuncture. I'm a practicing and licensed Chinese medical provider focused on making Chinese medicine more accessible to you, helping you to help yourself so you can help the world. So if you're new here to the channel, consider hitting the subscribe button down below so you don't miss any future episodes. What's so special about Chinese chicken soup? When talking about healing and recovery in Chinese medicine, somewhere there is always a chicken soup. And what makes chicken soup such a favorite is its flexibility. So this base of chicken and water, it's this mellow flavor that's easy on the digestion and allows you to mix in different ingredients. It's these different ingredients that change the taste and the wellness properties of the soup. So chicken soup with ginger is a warming meal that can do three things. It can help calm your digestion. If you're feeling cold, it can get rid of that, and it can help get rid of toxins in the body. What about chicken soup with sesame seed oil? Well, that one helps with constipation. And if you can add in hearty vegetables like yams and carrots, you've created a meal that helps rebuild your blood and qi. And when you're preparing for this winter, working on strengthening your immune system means you stay healthier. One great way to do that is by selecting ingredients that will strengthen your digestion. Okay, why the digestion instead of, say, the lungs? Well, there are a few reasons. And the first comes from the Sung Dynasty, which was around 1200 AD. That's, 800 years ago. The Sung Dynasty, it was like this rebirth in Chinese medicine and Chinese medical thought. And there was a book written during this dynasty. It was called the Wei Lun, and that's the spleen and stomach treatises. So in my last episode, I talked about the masters and the educators who have helped make this medicine more accessible. Well, one of those people is Bob Flaws, who's a practitioner, an educator, and a translator of Chinese medicine. And he's done a translation of this text, which opens up a whole world in Chinese thought. What was revolutionary in this book is it was one of the first times illness was thought to come from the foods you ate. So today, okay, that's completely accepted that food can cause illness. But, 800 years ago, that was a new idea. And it was the start of realizing you are what you eat. So the second reason comes from 2,000 years ago and with the codification of the 5-element theory. So this goes back to the mother-son relationship in 5 elements. So if you've been following the channel, you know the elements are related to the seasons. And just like the seasons, one element follows another in a specific order. So the previous element is the mother of the next element, and that element is the sun. One way to strengthen the sun is by strengthening the mother. So the spleen and stomach are the earth element, and the earth element is followed by the metal element, which represents the lung. So improving your digestion will naturally help improve the health of your lungs. And then there's one last reason. So the third reason, everyone I see in clinic has some sort of digestive issue. It just seems like our food choices today ensure that. So poor digestion is like having a leak in your immune system. Let's look at another aspect of why you would work at strengthening your immune system in fall. So chicken soups and broths are beneficial anytime you need to recover or build your immune system because of their flexibility. Yet, it's 5-element theory in Chinese medicine that pinpoints why fall. Winter, the cold and flu season is right around the corner. And in 5 element theory, you prepare today for tomorrow. It's like planning. If something needs planning, not planning means it's bound to fail or at least stumble. So you want to start your preparations before you need them. And in this case, you want to start preparing for winter in the fall. And are there other benefits to selecting fall to prepare for the cold and flu season? Yep. Each organ is most active and able to accomplish the most in its own season. So the yin organ associated with fall is the lungs. So focusing on aiding your immune system in fall means you're indirectly helping your lungs. And being that you're going to focus on building up your digestion, the stomach and spleen are earth in 5 element theory, and they're the mother of the lungs. And there's one other thing that's neat about the lungs. In Chinese medicine, the lungs control what they call the Wei Qi, and that's the body's defensive qi, or the qi that protects you from external pathogens. So the stronger your Wei Qi, the less likely you are to get sick. Let's talk about the ingredients. I'm going to add in some Chinese herbs to this soup. And now all chicken soups in Chinese medicine are going to include Chinese herbs because that's how you're going to get the strong medicinal properties. And to get a feel of how to use Chinese herbs in cooking, these herbs can be as strong as ginger. And if you cook with ginger, you know more is definitely not better. So you don't need a lot. And you don't need to use Chinese herbs. But because this is a medicinal chicken broth, you get Chinese herbs. So let's start with the main ingredient, chicken. Now, if you saw the food labeling series, why you want to avoid skinless chicken, food labeling part 4, I talk about why I buy chicken with the skin on. Well, you're going to want to do that. And it would be great if you had the giblets. Ew, what do you want with the giblets, right? Well, let's be real. Organ meats have some strong health benefits. And, my grandparents didn't eat cow liver because it tasted good. And in Chinese medicine, chicken gizzards are used to break up gallstones. So if you go into your regular grocery store for your chicken, you want it organic, skin on, and giblets. Now, I kind of switched up this episode and decided to do a broth. I was at the Asian market and I saw they had stewing chickens. Well, a few years back, I didn't know that there were different types of chicken. Where I learned about differences in chicken, Julia Childs. Now, no one tells you what the differences are anymore, and they don't really sell the different types of chicken in the grocery stores. So if you don't know what a stewing hen is, they're laying hens that are past their prime for laying eggs. So, and that prime isn't very long. It's only about a year. But the chicken you see in the grocery store is only 7 weeks to 6 months old. So there's pros and cons to older stewing chickens. And the biggest pro is that using stewing chickens is really one way to honor the hen's complete life cycle, which is why when I was standing in the Asian grocery store, I made a last minute change to this episode. So instead of a soup, you have a broth. And the other thing is because these chickens have lived longer, they're more nutrient rich and their bones are denser and they're more flavorful. I had mentioned that my Chinese friends always commented on their more flavorful chickens. And you saw that if you've watched my other episodes. Well, this is part of the reason why. Now, the other thing is they don't soak these chickens in those water baths to put more weight on them and make them look plumper for market. And they're half the price of regular organic chicken. So the con is the meat is tougher. So you can't roast it. You can't use it for most recipes because it has to be slow cooked. Now, you see why they call them stewing chickens? I have seen that it's a minimum of 4 hours to maximum of 24 hours. And you're going to see, I checked mine and it was about 12 hours that I stewed mine at a simmer. And that's the only way this meat is going to be tender enough to be edible. And because it has to be cooked so slowly, we're doing a broth. Okay, so one of the benefits of doing Chinese medicinal chicken broths is the ability to target specific areas of the body using different herbs. And because I want to strengthen the body for winter, I'm going to work on the digestive function. So here are your ingredients. So what are the steps? Because I'm using dry herbs, it's going to be best to pre-soak the herbs for about 30 minutes. I simmer my herbs in a teapot for 30 minutes, save the water because you're going to use it when you're cooking the chicken. And my teapot, it's cast iron. And in Chinese medicine, they like cast iron, stainless steel, or glass to cook in. Now, if you're using Chinese herbs and you're not sure you want to eat the cooked herbs, you can place them in cheesecloth and cook them in the cheesecloth. And then when you're done cooking everything, you just lift out the cheesecloth and throw it away. Okay, let's cut everything up. I'm going to wash and pat dry the chicken, and I'm going to use sea salt to salt the chicken. Now, you can cut the chicken up, which probably would have been a better option, but I didn't. I just cooked it whole. So place everything in the pot. I'm going to use a Dutch oven because I like Dutch ovens. You want to put in just enough water that you're about covering the chicken. So bring it to a boil and then cook it over a low heat until done. And if you're doing a soup, cook that on a medium low for about an hour and a half. But I'm doing a stewing chicken, so I'm going to check it every 4 hours. And where mine turned out great was at about 12 hours. Check the water level regularly and add more water if it starts to get too low. Now, being that I'm doing broth, when I'm done, everything but the chicken and the broth gets thrown away, and I let everything cool down. The chicken is going to be placed in a separate pan to cool, and I'll shred that later. But the broth is what I really want. So I'm going to do a first strain using cheesecloth over a large bowl. Then I'm going to do a second strain into a jar for storage. I am really curious how this is going to taste. Now, I have been tasting it throughout the cooking process at about 6 hours, and it is flavorful. So let me try this. Oh my gosh. Okay. That is the best chicken broth I've ever made. And the cooking gurus are right. These stewing hens are so much more flavorful than even the organic chicken in the grocery store. So at a fraction of the cost, if you're willing to slow cook, this is a really good option. You know, I'm wondering how this would taste in a sous vide. If any of you have tried a stewing hen in a sous vide, I would love to hear how you did it and how it turned out. Lastly, what everyone has been waiting for, the Chinese nutrition of this all. So, you know, there's something a little bit different about stewing chickens. They're not bland. So being that they're a bit older bird, they're more nutrient dense and they're much more flavorful. So their impact on the body is going to be a little bit different than the chicken I've been using. And these chickens are going to help strengthen the qi and blood. They're going to build up the yin, and they're going to support the spleen, the tendons, and the bones. But they're not going to help you get rid of that excess fluid in the body. Okay, what about the 3 herbs that I added in? Okay, the first one, lienza, that's lotus seed. Okay, that helps strengthen your spleen and your kidney. And guess what it does too? It helps eliminate diarrhea. And there's been a stomach flu that's been going around here. So lienza, good one to add into your cooking. And it helps nourish the heart and reduce anxiety. another thing that could be really beneficial right now. Now, the other one, gochitsa, which is goji berries, that helps rebuild the liver and it improves your vision. But the berries also help build up the yin in the lungs and the kidney. So that means it may help with a dry cough and it may help with your diabetes. The last one's daotsa or jujube, and that helps strengthen the digestion. And they're also can be good for a dry cough. They help reduce anxiety. Wow, that's another one we could use right now. And these were showcased in the episode 5 foods you can use to help combat the flu, and where you learned eating too many of these can actually give you diarrhea. So maybe use 6 dates in your recipes. I added in ginger, and mainly that was to offset the beets because the beets are cold and ginger's warm. So both of these are great at moving garbage out of the body. So beets help you detox, ginger helps you detox. Ginger, it's warming, but you know what else it helps with? It helps with nausea and upset stomachs. And then lastly, I threw in these root vegetables, and root vegetables are great at strengthening the qi and blood. So that's kind of what you have here. You have this really great strengthening broth that helps with anxiety, and we all need help with, well, a lot of us need help with anxiety right now. And then it helps with upset stomachs and digestive issues while making you stronger. Okay, here's a great start to help you build your immune system for the cold and flu season. And if you don't know where to buy these herbs, you can buy them online, or if you live in a large city, you might be able to find a Chinese herb store where you can pick them up in person. So until next time, I'll catch you on the other side.